Good afternoon and welcome to the Westport Board of Health meeting on July 7th, 2025. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move right into the director's report. We don't have one electronically, so
just
give us the update.
It's just the update is that a lot of every one of us are trying to use time before the end of the fiscal year, so that's why there's no written report. And just a quick verbal report. The transfer station, the new shed has been, it's there, it's been built. So if you notice, it's when you come into the transfer station, it's right on the right hand side. It's the first one on the right hand side of the container. Very nice shed. We'll use it for storage and maybe set up some tables to do some fabricating when we need different things. We have another shed coming through Covanta for our universal waste shed, because the one that we have now, well, the one that we had fell apart literally, and the one that we have now is pretty bad shape. So Covanta is going to provide us with one for the mercury and lithium ion and the hazardous stuff. So we're good there. Have you all been down there to see the new paving since it's been done? So it looks pretty good. The bike recycling area started to put together their sheds that we purchased through the bike recycling grant. Hopefully, sometime by the end of the summer they'll be up, and that area will be contained a little better than it is right now. Gabby, who worked for us through the PHE grant, has now officially left us and took a position with the town of Marion. So she will be missed. She was, good hard worker and, filled in the gaps where we needed. So we'll see how that process goes with searching for that, for somebody to backfill that position. Animal control, Gina, the new assistant animal control officer, left. So now we'll be back. I'll send an email to Jim tomorrow asking him if we can repost the position, and the search begins again. That's about all I have for right now.
Okay. Never a dull moment. Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
No.
Okay.
I would just say one thing. I like the fact that the fabric, if you want to call it that, bin has been moved into a more accessible location. So that's good.
Oh, down by the
Right.
plastic.
So you don't have to walk in front of the traffic and go backwards.
Yeah.
So that's good.
That's for the, I think it's Big Brother, Big Sister.
Yeah.
Clothing and shoes
right.
drop off.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to director approved plans, and we have one for John.
Yes.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So we have a 3-bedroom new construction on 2 Arthur Street on a 32,000 square foot lot for John Alfonso Properties, utilizing a Quick 4 and a Microfast system. It's been through Concom.
Can you just, is that the name of the designer?
John Alfonso Properties?
No, designer, engineer. Is that the?
No, I'm not. I don't know that. If it is, it's somebody new.
Okay. I'm just curious. Okay, and that doesn't need any special conditions?
So I moved that we endorse the director-approved plan for 2 Arthur Street.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the plan for 2 Arthur Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, moving on to minutes.
First one, set of minutes is June 9th, 2025.
I had no changes to that.
I have no comments.
Okay.
So I move that we approve the minutes for June 9th, 2025.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the June 9th minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Okay, the next set is June 23rd.
I had no changes to that.
Me neither.
So I move that we approve the plans for June 23rd, 2025.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of June 23rd. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous, thank you. Okay, moving on to other business. First discussion item is the Pine Ridge Comprehensive or Chapter 40B permit. The updated, the applicant submitted an updated request to waive also Section 6A septic system location requirements. So, Phil has drafted a response for a proposed commentary to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'm going to turn it over to Phil and Matt for discussion.
Okay, so, so this arose kind of late in the process where the applicant requested a waiver from the provision of our regulations which require, or which, put it the other way, which prohibits the siting of a subsurface septic system within 100 feet of the wetlands and other wet areas, surface waters, etc. But gives the board the authority to waive that prohibition if the system incorporates nitrogen-reducing technology. And so that was raised orally at the last hearing that was in front of the ZBA, and then was made part of a written submittal by the applicant. And so in the course of what we've been doing so far is, submit written comments. And so the draft that I suggested was to allow or to not oppose the waiver, provided that as part of the comprehensive permit that the ZBA issues, that there would be a condition that requires nitrogen-reducing system to be incorporated, into the design and construction of, any septic systems that were made a part of the plan. And because although the applicant has indicated their intention to do that, there's really nothing in writing that confirms that or makes that a condition of the permit. And then also I thought, well, that the comprehensive permit is, I guess, apparently transferable. And so if the owner sold the property to somebody else, and that person just came in with the same plan, said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and implement the permit, that it would be essential to have the condition in the permit so that anyone who went ahead and implemented the permit would be also subject to the commitment to do that. And I think as far as reducing the setback, the 50-foot limit, Title V would be in effect. It's also consistent with the wetland regulations, which basically create a presumption that if the location of the SAS is consistent with Title V, it's protective of the interests of the Wetlands Protection Act. So, and we use 50 feet in other places in our regulations for setbacks from wetlands for septic systems. So that all seemed to be fine, and plus we get a guarantee of the nitrogen denite systems being put into the project. So I think that's a significant victory, or significant benefit.
Okay. Any additional comment, Matt?
No, I think Phil covered it all, so.
Okay. Donna?
Questions?
I am fine with the proposal as you've laid out. I have one question and one thought, though. Question: the bylaw, the town bylaw, still exists, I believe. We just incorporated it, the language, into the regulations so that everything was in one place. Is that something that we should? Is there any? I mean, that's purely administrative, I think, unless comprehensive permits cannot waive local bylaws. I don't know about that.
Well, I wasn't sure about that, and I went back and looked up in the bylaw, and as amended since then, and I could be wrong about this, and maybe it tests people's memories, but I believe that we sponsored an amendment to the bylaw which eliminated that provision because it's no longer in there on the grounds that we were now making it part of our regulations, because it made it enforceable that way.
Yep. Okay.
Which was not really, so I don't think it's there anymore.
Okay.
So I think we took it over, plus we added some additional reference to performance standards and that kind of stuff in. So I think
better than I thought.
Yeah. So I think that
Okay,
we
great.
cleaned that up, so to speak.
When
at the
did we
time.
clean that up?
Hmm?
When did we do that?
I think when we were doing the reworking of the regulation.
Yeah, it's a
was
couple
it
of years
2
now.
or 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think
we were all on board.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I kind of recall when we
I
went before the
do
town,
sort of
we
now that you
explained
remind me.
that,
Yeah.
that we were removing this, but we were incorporating it into a regulation,
Okay.
or that now was duplicative because we had already issued the I can't remember that,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
but a version of that had been out there for quite a while. For
Okay.
those history buffs, it used to be to have the exception was if they did a hydrogeological study.
Right.
That used to be the exception.
Yeah.
Then when I joined the board, then because hydrological studies are hugely expensive,
Yeah.
so when I joined the board, we clarified that the setback was just from the SAS, not the entire septic system, and also incorporated the DNITE exception rather than a hydrogeological study. So,
Okay.
and then we put it into our regulations. So.
Okay. Great. Thank you for reminding me of the history. Thank you. So then the other question or other thought I guess I had was, I attended the last meeting. You were on vacation.
Right.
And I did express verbally, just to make sure that the ZBA was clear that the current site plan in front of them, the proposed septic location was not valid.
Right, I remember. I watched a bunch of it online.
Okay.
So I did see.
So I
that.
did see that, express that verbally. Do we need to have another cover letter just to remind them that, your plan right now doesn't include it's not, because we don't know what's going to come up once they do the perk tests, and where the location might end up, and that
Right.
might change the dynamic of the whole project.
Right.
It's sort of hard to imagine approving a 40B when you don't know where the septic system is going to be, but.
So that's
That's all I
why,
know.
right, so we tried to address it in the last
The other waiver.
proposal of a condition which
Interesting.
said that if they can't locate it there, where they currently, let's say they went back and perked it and it was below 30, then, and they could fit the system in to that location, then we wouldn't have any objection to it. But I agree, it's unlikely because of the way that the perk rate affects the size of the system and where that it's located. Just in terms of the dimensions, kind of butting up against the road and et cetera. So the condition, and I think they kind of acknowledged that they thought it was likely that they were going to need to move the system. So then we wrote the condition, which said that if they go elsewhere, that they'd have to conduct perk tests, and then if there were a series, essentially, if they conducted perk tests elsewhere on the property, and that we would have a role in determining how many tests they needed to do, but if they came up with a certain number of outcomes, which are more than 30, they had to choose the outcome that was closest to 30 or lower, considering maximum feasible compliance,
Yeah.
which meant,
Okay.
so I think, but
I think that's covered well
I would
enough.
just say that we could remind, since this may be the last written thing we submit, but maybe we can raise it at the hearing when we go to this, the next hearing in July 25th or something, to remind them about, the previous condition that we had submitted to them, the proposed condition.
Yeah, I think they have that, and
Yeah.
what the plan was to have the attorneys discuss together
Yeah.
to try to develop
Right.
a common understanding. I was just, at the hearing, what I noticed is that the attorney for the applicant did not seem to be aware of that perk in February that had failed both Title V and our local regulation. So
Well, that
that
seems...
neither here nor there. It's
Right.
not, he's just the attorney, but
Well, since we wrote about it and
we spoke.
we spoke about it,
Okay.
that was a convenient lapse of memory. Is how I would, how I would consider that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then I would look for a motion to endorse this response to be submitted to the ZBA.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, great. Thank you. We can move on to board member updates. Since Phil, you had the floor before, I'll let you go first.
Oh, no, I had a good time on vacation. But that doesn't need to go in the minutes, but I just thought if you wanted an update on my life, I could say that.
And he ran into me at Stop and Shop.
That's right, that was extremely convenient. No, I can't think of anything else that's happening.
Okay.
I have an opioid settlement fund advisory committee meeting next week. We are going to, the opioid settlement fund advisory committee is going to be having a table with information about what our committee is. We might have some survey for people to fill out there or provide a QR code. We have to work on establishing that. Because we're still really looking for input from the community on the best way to spend this money. That right now, the settlement fund has $370,000, and we will get close to $1 million by 2038. So we're still trying to figure out how Westbrook can best utilize these funds, but we're going to have a table. And I'm wondering if, I'm sorry. The police night out.
Oh.
There's an event on August 9th, and the police will be sponsoring it. And they are going to have different tables from different community members. So we are going to set up a table from the Opioid Settlement Fund Advisory Committee. I don't know if the Board of Health wants to set up a meeting or do something regarding whether it has to do with safety or dealing with, I don't know if the fire department's doing anything on disaster preparedness, but it's just something for us to think about if we want to do that, like we did at the on River Day.
Yep. Okay. Okay, thank you. I wanted to bring up something I think I forwarded, and I sort of lost track of it because I was away for a few days before the holiday, and I was not able to attend the proposed legislation establishing a Coastal Waters Wastewater Financing Commission. And we can submit written testimony, and I'm sure we would be in support of this. It's the bill would create a commission to evaluate potential financial alternatives to support wastewater infrastructure projects to protect public health and the environment. This is revenue neutral and does not cost the state money. I think this is a first step in trying to figure out ways to support communities that have large infrastructure needs like Westport. I think it would be helpful if we, as one of those communities in need, would support the proposed legislation and send a letter to that effect. Wanted to get the sense of the board, and I don't have anything written. I'm happy to develop something, or if somebody else wants to, I'm happy with that too.
So, caught in my own convenient lapse of memory, so I was, the Watershed Alliance advocacy group reached out to me, and I passed it on, and I knew you weren't around, so I ended up testifying virtually.
Oh, great.
And John Bullard was there, and I forget there were some people who I didn't really know, but John was there. And so as part of that, I wrote up the testimony, because you had 3 minutes, so you couldn't ramble on the way I rambled on. So I just read it. And I can circulate what I read and what I wrote, and then we can do it. We could submit it as part of or play around with it more as part of submitting written testimony. And it just seemed to me that since the only ask really was to create a commission, that it wouldn't be a heavy lift to have them, have them do that, but that would certainly be really helpful. And there were some examples that were given about innovative fundraising at the local level in other communities that was done outside of the typical property tax. So I think that they're not necessarily going back and coming back to the legislature and saying, you have to give us a whole bunch of money, but are there ways that towns can...
It's a mechanism to
other mechanisms,
sort of gather best
that
practices
that
around
towns
that.
can use or start,
Okay.
setting up a bank that certain kinds of funds could go into.
So that's excellent. I'm glad that you did that. Thank you. Yes, I would suggest that if you send that around, and that we sort of say, as a board, we are supportive of this legislation anyways, and then whatever the details are, we can tweak. So just a motion to provide written testimony in support of legislation to establish this Coastal Waters Wastewater Financing Commission.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Okay, great, thank you.
Where did you get that from?
I got this from the Buzzards Bay Coalition. The memo, the email.
I got that from somebody.
I forwarded it to you, I think.
Okay, that's who I got it from.
Or no, maybe I didn't. I don't know.
I did receive that, but I don't know if it was from,
It might not have been for me.
it might have been from Steve Willett,
Yes, it might have
because
been.
and Craig Dutra, they will send me anything related to Board of Health stuff.
Oh, okay.
So.
I'll forward this because it has the legislative language and the sort of a kind of background fact sheet. So I'll forward this to you. I apologize if I forgot. It's
of
been a
course-
busy period of
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
Buzzard Bay representative also spoke there.
Yeah,
So,
okay. All right, great. Anything else for board member updates? If not, we have technically 4 minutes, but do we have any butters for Yared that we need to restart?
Alex, any butters coming?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Are butters coming? Do you have any
I
butters?
don't think there are any, but I don't think I need to notify about it for that.
Okay. Then the hearing is scheduled for 4:30. It's slightly early, but I think I'm happy
Yeah,
to
that will be better.
get the ball rolling, so to speak. So I will call the 4:30 variance hearing for Joseph Yared at 15 Briggs Road, a 3-bedroom repair with an Elgin system on 16.03 acres, represented by Alex Gorodetsky. And we do have the plan on our.
So this is 15 weeks old, septic system repair.
Wait a second.
It's a
I don't think they're gonna be able to hear.
three,
You need a microphone, maybe.
Yeah, because
Just take a minute.
Well, there's an extra one right there,
Oh,
next to,
Right here, Alex.
you need one.
that's fancy.
yeah, flip it on your shirt. Wouldn't want the home audience to miss your
That's
stellar presentation.
It's really fancy. All right, for the record, my name is Alex Gorodetsky, a professional engineer for 22 North Main Street for River. I am representing Mr. Yared, who is the owner of 15 Briggs Road, existing 3-bedroom house. There is a wetland line on the property. Wetland line was flagged by Mr. Walsh and approved by the Conservation Commission. So existing septic system is a 2 cesspools, some kind of combination, probably a septic tank and a cesspool in one location and a cesspool in another location, maybe something else. So the septic system is fairly old. It was built in the early 60s. Perk test was done, land and site was perked. So septic system represents it's a raised septic system located more than 100 feet outside of the existing well and outside 100-foot wetland setback. It's an Elgin leaching bed designed under the remedial letter of approval, and the septic system itself, as I said, includes a leaching bed after the Elgin geotextile sand filters, a 1,500-gallon tank, 1,000-gallon pump tank, approximately 200 feet of a 2-inch pipe, 3/4 horsepower pump tank, and that's pretty much it. Because of groundwater table is very high, they're 27 inches. House does not have a basement. Probably that's why. So the variance, and there is an existing pipe, so when I matched the septic tank and the pump tank with the existing pipe invert and applied 27 inches groundwater table depth, it just happens that I require a variance for about an inch above the high seasonal groundwater table to match it versus the Title 5 requirement to be at least 12 inches. I also put a provision that the connection should be made out of the neoprene boots, and with a special mastic that's applied on the top of these boots to provide a imperviousness. Right, so the groundwater would not intrude into the tank. I'm also proposing, and I customarily do it, all the tank covers to be brought to grade. That also precludes groundwater or rainwater infiltration
Mhm.
into the units, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gorodetsky. I'll turn to Matt. Any comments, feedback?
No, just to make sure that you schedule the abandonments with, John or I.
Yes, I applied for abandonments
Okay.
for 2 tanks. Fee was paid and everything. Yes, and they have to find it because it appears that one of the tanks may be under the driveway, maybe not, because the sketch was really. We know where the pipes are, but we haven't dug where the units are. But it will be abandoned, of course.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
No, did you have mentioning about the local upgrade versus the waiver reference? Does it look like in the cover letter that the...
Look, traditionally, I always applied for the waiver, but
Oh, okay.
let's put it this way: it depends on municipality.
Okay.
In some other municipalities, I just did one in Seekonk. I didn't have to go to the Board of Health agent, just signed off on it. But I'm just telling you what it is. Some other places, not only Westport, some other places, let's say Swansea, for example, I had to apply for the variance, and the variance has to be recorded in the registry of deeds, even though they have a special form. All the variances are recordable. But in Westport, that's how I traditionally done it for years. If you want me, I gladly change it, not to bother you.
Well, I think because the section 15405 has a provision J, reduction of the requirement of the 12-inch separation between inlet and outlet tees or high groundwater, provided that all boots or pipe joints are sealed with hydraulic cement or installed with watertight sleeves, and the tank is proven watertight. So it qualifies, I think, under that provision, and the local upgrade approval means slightly less work all around than the 410 waiver. So if you're okay with doing it as a local upgrade approval, I think we're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine.
There's just a different standard that applies to it. The variance just generally has a higher standard than the local upgrade approval. And then, so you don't have to get into that discussion.
Okay.
All right, local upgrade approval. All right, I'll do from now on.
Yeah.
Well, if it qualifies for a local upgrade, some don't, but in this case it does. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board?
So you mentioned that it had Concom approval, but is there a Concom approval stamp somewhere on the plan?
There is not.
It's outside 100-foot buffer zone, so the
Right.
wetland line was reviewed as customarily filed
So
with the
I think it
declaration.
means the wetland line was approved by the
The wetland
Concom,
line.
but the project doesn't, because it's outside the buffer zone. it
Oh,
doesn't need to go.
okay, I get you. Okay, thanks. Doesn't need one. All right.
So just as a matter, just a question. So if in a case like that, I don't have to apply for the variance. It's local upgrade approval, and
It still comes here, I mean, the process,
But I
looks
don't have to.
similar.
I don't have to show up at the meeting.
you don't have to what?
No,
Do I-
you don't have to come back to a meeting.
I don't have, okay.
No, oh,
Yeah,
today, yeah,
Oh,
no,
no,
for
no,
this,
no.
no, we're just gonna administratively modify,
Okay.
with your
Okay.
agreement. Okay, so, somebody prepared to make a motion?
Sure. So I will move to approve the plan for Joseph Barrett at 15 Briggs Road, a 3-bedroom repair on a plan dated 6/12/25, with treating the request as a local upgrade approval waiver for a groundwater separation for the septic tank invert pipe from 12 inches to 1 inch, and similarly a separation from 12 inch to 1 inch for the invert for the pumping tank, and a hold harmless agreement.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve those local upgrade approvals with the condition of the hold harmless. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Okay, great.
Thank
Thank you,
very much.
Mr.
Thanks.
Kordetsky.
Always pleasure.
Okay, is Mr. Potter coming?
He's in the book to be here. I don't know if he's actually gonna be here, but
Okay.
he's in the book.
About 5 minutes.
Yeah, he tends to come just in time, so. Okay, we'll hold off on that. Just go through topics for the next regular meeting. We talked about something that we wanted on the agenda.
Yeah, the cemetery.
Oh, right, okay. We have, we developed the cemetery home burial guidelines. We have an applicant
Okay.
for that, so it will come before us at our next meeting on the 23rd.
And
21st.
signatures are needed.
Okay,
Mhm.
anything else in particular that we want on the agenda? In 2 weeks.
Do we have any health notes that we want to?
So Olive just did one on ticks
saw
and
that.
mosquitoes for the, yes, so I haven't been thinking about that. A lot of other things going on. Do we have some suggested, I know we talked about topics, but I can't remember. Oh, they would be online. Any suggested topics or anybody interested in writing an article?
I'm gonna have to think about what I would write about if I did one.
Emergency preparedness, hazard mitigation kind of stuff.
Well, I just don't want to commit myself on that. We're having a meeting tomorrow morning and having a very limited meeting, but I don't know if there's really going to be a draft, but I could, based on the meeting tomorrow, I can get back to you.
Yeah,
and
well,
send
not
it
so
to
much
you.
from the committee, but just Board of Health
Oh,
reminding people. I mean, we've seen natural disasters across the country lately, and just reminding people of good idea to sign up for health alerts from Board of
Mhm.
Health and that kind of just general
Yeah.
refresh people's memories that emergency go bag and that kind of stuff.
So I think the planning board might be working on those go bag things and or something along those lines. I don't know exactly what they're doing over there, but they got
uh-huh.
some first aid kits in and stuff like that. So it's maybe worth a conversation with Dia.
Okay.
But I just wanted to suggest that we should probably maybe focus on a heating and a cooling center and protocols for what that might look like, where they may be for kind of a large scale turnout versus, I know the COA operates as one, but if there was hundreds of people, I don't know, if they would be able to handle that many people.
Right, yeah. Well, as the, prior to the last event that really triggered an extreme heat event alert, I had reached out to Beverly, but then as in anticipation of the alert coming out, but then the alert came out and the fire department and police and Matt were all involved, in that, and it is, part of the longer-term plan of the Climate Resilience Committee. It's a combination of looking at other locations such as the public library, or maybe the VA, and which may be more dispersed around the town, just in terms of people having access to them.
Right.
And then, there's an other sentiment about that the more, I don't want to say practical idea about it, but the more personalized, I guess, approach would be to create a funding mechanism where people who could not afford to buy an air conditioner would be able, you know, that there'd be a program that would fund that, and so people could get air conditioners. And
You'd
so,
also need to fund the
The
increased electricity bill.
cost, yeah.
Hmm?
The electricity
It's
cost.
the electricity
Yeah, yeah,
cost that
well,
really.
yeah, well, it would be an individual, you know, it'd be an individual's, you know, choice to some extent. And, again, it has not been fleshed out at all what that would look like, but I would just say that there are some people who, that support that, and it's also something that the Council on Aging has done, has
Yeah.
either received or, the conditioners and, you know, voluntarily, or that they had, maybe it's just a private funding source, and so they've been able to do that. Yeah, and, you know, obviously it implies that people, you know, are prepared, you know, to do that, so.
Okay.
But it's in the idea phase at this point.
Okay, that,
I mean.
not prepared to write about at this
Yeah.
point.
I mean, the thing that I thought that I might write about, although I don't know it would be like a full column, is the impact of extreme heat on medications that people take. And actually go into some detail about what the medications are and, you know, what conditions that they may be associated with, because it's both prescription medications and over-the-counter, and, you know, a side effect, for example, of some of them, you know, creates or stimulates dehydration or prevents sweating. And so there are all these different, and so I thought maybe, and I've got materials on it, and so I thought that might, you know, be worthwhile as one mechanism to put it in the shoreline, but then also maybe have a link in our website to someone could actually look up, without saying it's going to be comprehensive, but to say, oh, let me look and see if,
Yeah.
you know, this condition I have, you know, is one that might be susceptible to that. I
Okay,
mean, the general advice is contact your physician,
right.
you know, but, because we're not going to advise people not to take their medication,
Right.
but just to be aware,
Yeah,
okay,
to
maybe
be-
you need to drink more because you're going to get, you know, dehydrated or et cetera. Take, you know,
Okay.
whatever the- so.
Let me suggest that you write
Yeah.
at your leisure whenever,
Yeah,
and
okay.
we can either combine it with just general, more heat
Right.
advisory stuff to make a longer column if that's appropriate. We'll sort of see based on what you come up with. That would be
Yeah.
great. Thank you for volunteering on that.
Can I just add to that?
Mm.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, sure.
So I was thinking more, I know, funding mechanism for, you know, heat waves or whatever for people maybe to buy air conditioners, or, you know, like Tanya pointed out, the electric bills, but blizzards often knock out power for periods of time. So, you know, so with heat, I was thinking more of maybe the old high school gym or the new high school, places with generators that if there is no power, they can go to.
Right.
Oftentimes, these heating and cooling centers make accommodations for pets, and there's rules around that. So there's a whole bunch of things that I think we need to consider and put into place, whether not for just kind of like a localized event, for a wide scale event. We should maybe talk about planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
I
is
think
that
that.
something that we're supposed to, we should be working on with police, fire, and the school department?
But I think
And the
Phil's on that committee to do that.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
just that I don't know if they, you know, I'm not
Well,
on the committee,
right.
so I don't know what exactly is being talked about, but I think, you know, planning for a large-scale event, which will happen, to accommodate a lot of people, and the places that we have will have backup power.
Would be
Well,
interesting.
so that-
Well, this committee creates a document. It depends on then, out of that document, what proactive steps are really taken, you know,
Okay.
which would require, you know, and you
Development
might be
of
the right
plan.
person to do it, to reach out to those people and let's convene a meeting about this and, you know, and talk about with the town administrator, because it's
Mhm.
really a lot of different
Who's
town
leaving.
properties you're talking about, and, you know, and just see where it fits in the priority of things and, you know, what's available, because there
Mhm.
could be some, you know, like right off the shelf solutions that, you know, we could implement.
Okay.
But,
So it sounds like we're straying a little from the health notes topic, but the larger topic of emergency planning
Mhm.
for the town is something that will happen through your hazard mitigation committee,
Mhm.
but the Board of Health may want to take some, you know, work proactively to try to move that along as well in terms of some of those, especially healing cooling centers is what I'm hearing. So there's 2 tracks on that. And then just the third topic I thought of for health notes down the road, and I guess that would be me writing it, is the unknown septic system. We haven't really addressed that in a
Mhm.
public way. So not that we haven't sent the letters out, and right now we don't have the resources to do it, manpower wise or probably postage wise. But we could develop a plan. You know, I know the Watershed Alliance helped us before, and we have talked about targeting that. But we can sort of just a general, if you have a house older than 1960 and don't have a, you know, you may not have a septic plan on file, here's some things that we'll be looking for down the road as we start reaching out, sort of advance warning to people. That might shake the tree a little bit. So those are a couple other topics that we can work on over the next few months. And Don, if you think of something you'd like to write about, we can revisit that. We are certainly past 4:40, and it appears that Mr.
Just put, I'll reach out to him and let him know that we'll reschedule for the next meeting if he
Yeah.
wants to.
So I'll take a motion to continue the hearing for 65E Cummings Lane to July 21st at what time?
So we're wide open, so 4:30?
4:30.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to continue the hearing for 65E Cummings Lane. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, great. Any other unanticipated business? Seeing none?
Seeing none, I move that we adjourn this meeting at 4:49 PM.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you, everyone.